Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. Today I'm very excited to announce I'm doing my first collaboration video. So I've never done a collaboration before, and Catherine from Cat Talks reached out to me and suggested we do this fun little project where a bunch of us talk about why we DNF books. And I thought it was a really cool idea because I've not done a video about that, and I've only started DNFing books this year, so it's like a very new experience for me. So I will link the channels / videos of everyone who's taken part down below, but it is Catherine from Cat Talks, Ashley from Ashley Janae, Zach from Zach Tries to Read, and Kristin from Kristin Reads. So I'll link all their stuff down below. Please go check out their channels and their videos. I don't know what order these are going up, so mine might be the first one up. Probably not. So I'll link the videos down below if they've done them. If not, I'll just link to their channels. But yeah, they're all really great people, so you should definitely go check them out. Sorry if I'm messing a lot with my hair this video as well. I've literally just had it cut, so now you can tell which ones I've pre-filmed, because if I suddenly have magically longer hair, it's clearly a video I've pre-filmed. I did not think this through. Anyway, so why I DNF books? This is a really interesting question to me because, like I said, I never used to DNF books. I have this compulsive need to know how stories finish. It doesn't apply to TV shows. It does apply to movies. I could never just watch a movie and stop it halfway through and never watch the end. And it kind of does apply to TV shows in a sense that I can stop watching a TV show I've started, but I dislike starting a TV show from the middle or just watching a random episode of a TV show. I can't really do that. I don't enjoy doing that. But books is where it's the worst, and if I start reading a book, I feel like I have to finish it. And this year I started DNFing because I was wasting a lot of time on books that I don't enjoy. I am a very fast reader. I read about 130 pages an hour, so it would take me like 2 to 4 hours to finish most books. So I think that's part of the reason I didn't DNF, because I wasn't wasting a lot of time on that book. But I was still wasting time and I could be reading something else, so I've started trying to DNF this year. So far this year I've DNF'd about 7 to 8 books, I'm not sure the exact number, and in my cases the way I DNF is probably not how most people DNF. So what I constitute as a DNF is I'll start reading a book, decide it's not for me, and then I think because of that compulsive need I'll usually read the last chapter or skim read the rest of the book depending on how far I get before I decide to DNF. So what I mean by skim read is that I will literally just flick through the pages and just kind of try and get an idea of what's happening in the plot. Usually I'll skip straight to the end and read the last couple of chapters. So it's not a complete DNF, but it is a kind of compromise, and I'm not properly reading the book. The one exception to this is a short story collection. I can just DNF those because, you know, the story's done and then I don't have to start a new one. So kind of just going over this year, I had 2 DNFs in March. One was a short story horror collection, one was a young adult contemporary. The first one I read about half the stories and didn't like any of them, so I decided I wasn't going to like the rest of the collection. That was Welcome to the Show. The next one was the contemporary. That was only about 200 pages, maybe less, and I read about 50 to 70 pages and nothing had happened, and I was like, I can't finish this book. I think it was even less pages actually. I think it's about 120. So I did actually give up on that one completely because it wasn't worth reading to the end because nothing had happened so far for me to be interested in. That was a book called When You Reach Me. We then had Made You Up, which I DNF'd in May. This I think I got maybe 5 chapters in, and again I just could not gel with the writing style. The prologue intrigued me, but then all the characters were kind of unlikable, and more importantly the writing style was a bit weird. It just, I don't know what it was about it, there was something about how it was written that I disliked, so I stopped that one. I had 2 DNFs in June, which I did skim read the ends of, and the reason I stopped these is because there was a lot of problematic language in it, and in both of them, and also the writing, like the plot, again nothing had happened quite a substantial way through the books, so I just stopped both of them because there was no plot that I was intrigued by. And finally, my most recent DNF, this month in fact, was a book called The Doctor, which was an arc I got sent. It's a thriller. I'll talk about it more in my mid-month wrap-up. But this was basically just very poorly written. There was no twists. I could tell from the start that what was going to happen, and I read the last few chapters and I was right, nothing had happened that was a twist, and the villain was just cartoonish, so I lost interest very rapidly. I think that's my fastest DNF. I only read about 3 chapters before I wanted to DNF, and I only made it to chapter 12 before I did. So yes, that's kind of an overview of those books that I have DNF'd, and you can tell from that the main reason I stopped reading books is boredom. So this is very particular to the writing style, and it's a kind of combination of nothing happening in the plot and the writing style not being to my tastes. So I won't necessarily DNF a book if I enjoy the writing style but not a lot's going on in the plot, because that will keep me reading. Also, characters. I'm very much a character-driven reader, so if a book has compelling characters, I'll pretty much never ever want to stop reading it, even if the plot is a bit thin on the ground. But yeah, the main reasons are boredom and also problematic stuff. I have a very low tolerance for any kind of stuff like that, and I don't really like reading about it. So, for example, I mentioned there was 2. One of them was super transphobic, the other one just used a lot of slurs and had a lot of inappropriate sexual content and things like that. And yeah, I think those are the 2 major reasons why I DNF books. And the way to kind of cover both of them is to say writing style. I think that's the most important thing, and I think it's quite hard actually to have a bad writing style, because the majority of books, the writing style is not the problem. There's a lot of components that go into writing books, and I'd be interested to see what Kat says on this actually, because I know Kat is a writer. But for me, to have the actual way that the book is written be the problem is quite rare, and it always throws me when it happens, because it's one of those things that I find it weird that a lot of readers overlook because they like that book. But that just goes to show how we all have different tastes. So the other topic within this that I really wanted to talk about was DNFing arcs in particular. I get so guilty if I feel like DNFing an arc. Actually, 2 of the books that I DNF'd this year were arcs, and the first one I didn't feel guilty about because it was the problematic one, so I didn't feel bad about not finishing that book because the author had alienated me so much with what I saw as problematic views. Whereas with the second one, which is the one I DNF'd this month, I felt really, really bad about it, because I feel like when you accept an arc, you're kind of, I mean, you are promising to review this book, and it's very nice that people will send you free books, and I always feel awkward when I don't like those free books, so I don't want to trash them, particularly because with NetGalley I feel like the authors can see it if you post it on Twitter, which I didn't actually do for this. I didn't try to promote that review in any way. I did put it on Goodreads and I put it on NetGalley, but I didn't put it on my blog, and I didn't make a Twitter post about the review, which I normally do for all of my reviews. But yeah, it was just because the writing style was so bad, I felt quite guilty that I'd asked to read this book because I was interested in it, and it turned out to really not be my thing, which is ridiculous because that's the risk. You know, people know when they send you arcs that you might not like them, and that's okay, and you shouldn't feel bad about it, but I frequently do. So I'm kind of curious how other people feel about this. Do you feel different giving a bad review to an arc compared to a normal book? And are you less likely to DNF an arc? Those are the kind of questions I want to throw out there. So Zach mentioned that he was going to talk about DNFing books relating to genre, and I thought that was quite interesting as well, so I'm going to incorporate a little bit of that myself. There's not really a common theme with the genre of the books I've DNF'd. I think there's been like 2 contemporaries, 1 horror, 2 kind of thrillers, and then I guess the other ones would be like sci-fi-y. But I don't think the reasons I DNF are different depending on the genre. They certainly haven't been so far. The exception to that is maybe the thrillers, because particularly with the one I read most recently, I didn't I wasn't compelled because I knew there was not going to be any twists, and I was correct. I read the last 5 chapters, there weren't any twists that I couldn't have guessed from the opening of the book. So maybe because it was a thriller, I had that in mind. I think I'm maybe less likely to DNF thrillers because I do want to know what happens in them, and particularly with thrillers, one plot element can change how you feel about the entire book. So I read another one which was an arc, and I was bored until about 50%, and then at 50% something really interesting happened and the rest of the book was great. So if I DNF'd that, I wouldn't have experienced that, and I wouldn't have had that enjoyable story. So I think I am maybe less likely to DNF thrillers. I'm probably most likely to DNF contemporaries, I would say, because I don't read them a lot. I'm very particular about the ones I do select to read. And if a contemporary's boring me, it's not... They do have strong plots, don't get me wrong, but they don't have plots that are particularly twisty and turny most of the time. So I'm not likely to be compelled to finish it the same way I am a different book, for example. But yeah, I don't think it's particularly related to genre. I could be wrong with that as I progress through the year and maybe DNF more books. But yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to say. Please do check out everyone else's videos because, I mean, I'm excited to watch them. I haven't watched any at the point of filming this and I really want to know what everyone else thinks about this. I think DNFing books is such an interesting discussion to have, and particularly because I haven't done it for very long myself, I want to know maybe what some people who have DNF'd for longer think about it and what's their process and stuff. So yeah, please do comment down below if you have anything to add to this discussion, if there's anything you want to know in particular. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively, and I hope to see you next time.